Chapter 11.2 Land Use. To understand our discussion of environmentally sensitive development later in this chapter, we need to briefly introduce the concept of land cover and changing human land use. What's the difference between land cover and land use? Land cover indicates the physical land type, such as forest or open water, whereas land use documents how people are using the land. Scientists look at local and global scales to determine different scenarios that may impact land use and land cover changes. Figure 11.2 illustrates one typology commonly used for land cover analysis. Scientists classify the Earth's surface into basic categories of land cover that represent vegetation, ecosystems, and types of human development. Because the Earth's surface provides many important environmental functions, including ecosystems for human services, habitats that support biodiversity, and biogeochemical cycling of matter, the loss of critical land cover can affect these environmental functions in ways that increase economic costs and threats to human life. Land use and land cover changes are now monitored intensely, especially with new techniques in satellite imagery and remote GIS sensing. Land cover change is inherently a local event, yet broader-scale socioeconomic and biophysical factors can also affect how humans make decisions to use the landscape. Projecting future land use requires modelers to account for driving forces of land cover change operating at scales from the local to the global, and how those driving forces interact over both space, geography, and time. As a result of the high level of uncertainty associated with predicting human behavior or future development in complex socio-environmental systems, a scenario framework is needed to represent a wide range of plausible future conditions, similar to the scenarios used in climate modeling analysis. Of particular interest to us is the scope of land change due to development. In the context that's used here, development means something different than the way it was introduced earlier in our textbook, which was with respect to improvements in human individual social and economic well-being. In this context of land cover change and land use planning, development refers to tracts of land that have been newly built on or transformed in some other way for human use. Development represents the conversion of open space land and natural areas to residential neighborhoods, airports, industrial parks, hydroelectric dams, shopping centers, parks, and so on. Development reflects the inherent urbanization of communities and is driven most substantially by population growth and economic industrialization. Urbanization and land cover is of particular concern for two reasons. First, it can create unsustainable environmental change by altering local climates, stimulating the loss of economically useful natural resources, and otherwise affecting a myriad of ecosystem services. Deforestation, the loss of wetlands, and the destruction of critical habitats are especially problematic. The built environment can also put people in harm's way. Destructive forest fires, mudslides, and flooding are examples of hazards to human life and property that may occur when development locates communities in areas prone to these geologic and environmental events. Furthermore, our changing climate system puts additional pressure on our already existing infrastructure. It creates more demand for that infrastructure than it may have been originally designed for. In Chapter 11.3, we'll discuss how land use planners think about land use planning and its role in sustainable development.